Well, I think you just look at the state of the planet and that answers that question, that the disconnection that comes with all this technology has become dangerous. It's become dangerous for the life of the planet, it's become dangerous for our own health. It's not good for us, it's not good for this earth. And it's not that technology is bad in itself, but we need to realise we haven't evolved over all this time to be using technology. It does disconnect people, and that disconnection is really something we can't afford. And I love the technology too, and I use it, but it's a question of balance. In my work as a psychotherapist, I see a lot of very disconnected people. If they have a problem which is a relational problem, they try and think their way out of it. And when you do that, you just go round and round and round in circles, because the mind cannot solve an emotional problem. And so the first thing I often have to do is help them to connect with their feelings, down here. Nature teaches us so much, and how to connect and how to really notice the rhythm of the seasons. And if we can align our own energies with the rhythms of the seasons, it's quite amazing how connected we can feel. I write a newsletter called the Seasons Newsletter, and through my books and through my courses I'm reminding people of the seasonal changes. So we come into the energies of spring, which is so full of new life, and it's a wonderful time to initiate new projects. And then spring develops into summer, which is this great opening up, and the season of the heart, I call it. And the roses are blooming, and the trees have their wonderful big green crowns, and there's just so much fullness of growth at that time. And then summer mellows into autumn, which is where we are now, and then it comes into the dying season. And it's so important that we can be with dying, and we can acknowledge our grief, and we can acknowledge our losses, because they're part of us too. And then the season deepens into winter and the dark time, where we come inside and we turn within. So it really connects us into be in the seasonal cycle in a very deep way. And so now my work is changing. I'm still really committed to teaching and to educating. And I left activism behind. Now that I'm in my 70s, I realise that there's a different lens from which I see what needs to happen in the world. And I'm gathering together a group of women I'm calling the grandmothers. And I'm calling the grandmothers into a sacred circle. And we're going to meditate on our spiritual connection with the earth, because when you're an elder or grandmother, you're not tied up in leadership and that really active pushy phase anymore. You're not going out there with your anger, to strike against things. You're taking a more inward and still perspective, and you can see what's missing. And what's missing, it seems to me, is a way of expressing our grief. When something is lost, like a species, an ecosystem, nobody's there to grieve. We wouldn't dream of letting someone pass away without having a funeral for them, or a tangi, to use the Maori word. Why would we not mark the passing of these precious ecosystems? So that's the vision now of sacred activism. And Joanna Macy says the most subversive thing we can do is to be visible with our despair and our grief. And it seems to me there's no one expressing the pain. There's a lot of expression of anger. That's my vision for now and for the future, and that's the next thing I'm going to be doing.
I want to be living in circles. Don't wanna be living in lines. Oh yeah, I wanna be living in circles. Oh, don't wanna be living in lines. I wanna live in circles.